Guys, doom, despair, loss, sorrow, anxiety, fear. Guys, these are all things that people are feeling in the United Kingdom at the moment, and things are not going to get any worse. Not going to get any better. Guys, before we get into this video, we're going to talk about the budget. We're going to talk about how the price of rent is going to go up. We're going to talk about how the price of mortgages is going to go up. And generally how everything's going to get a lot worse in the, after Wednesday when this budget is announced. Guys, please, if you've not done so already, click the buttons below, the subscribe button, the bell button, notification button to, get you guys a notification when I do another video. Guys, if you've not shared my video, please share this if you can, please share this video with people people who are not really interested in the budget, who are not really interested in things that are happening around the world, things that are, people who are not interested about things that are happening in the United Kingdom, because right now we are heading into ridiculously wild times. Things just seem to be getting worse and worse and worse. And if you guys remember when I did a video like back in the summer, I said this winter we're heading towards an absolute calamity with food shortages, with the cost of living, with the fuel and the energy prices going up. All these things buckle together, and then you've got the Brucey bonus of it's Christmas time. Kids want Christmas presents. Now I know there's a certain amount of Christmas presents that Father Christmas does bring, and we're all grateful for that. But sometimes children, you subsidize those presents with your own presents that you've bought. So whilst Father Christmas puts the presents under the tree, and that helps everyone out. There's a lot of families out there who will not be able to subsidize that with their own presents, and it's just going to be a nightmare. We've got a situation in the United Kingdom at the moment where, and I'm going to say on the Western world, where we do as we're told by the television. Guys, this system is about to break. I'm not sure if you can remember or not, but remember when the fall of the Soviet Union? The Soviet Union was there until it wasn't, and it literally fell. I mean, it wasn't overnight, but it was in a very short period. And nobody saw this coming. Everybody was like, oh, the Soviet Union, the Soviet Union, the Soviet Union. And then, right, there's no Soviet Union. Guys, we are literally sleepwalking into the fall of Western democracy. Everything that happens, everything that I see come out on the news, I just think, how is this happening? How is this even a thing? Guys, this all comes back to ideological subversion. Our politicians, our leaders, our ruling class, they've all been ideologically subverted. We're in late stage capitalism whereby all the money, and I did a video, the last video I did talking about the Matrix. It was a pretty cool thumbnail, I've got to admit. The last video I talked about the Matrix, how it's controlling everybody. Guys, listen. When you see big headlines like international investment, that actually means international wealth extraction. Any international investment into the United Kingdom means our money will be leaving the United Kingdom and going and sitting in an offshore account somewhere. That's the reality of the situation. The only way we get out of this situation is to grow our economy. And there's no magic pill for this, guys. There's no magic, there's no silver bullet. There's no magic wand that Rachel Reeves, there's no magic wand that Rachel Reeves can wave and make things better. Guys, it's going to take hard work. It's going to take discipline, but it's also going to take wealth creation. Now, the government at the moment, they seem like they're not interested in wealth creation. We need to grow our local economies at a local level. It's kind of like the, when you hear people say, look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves. It's kind of like that situation at the moment. If we look after our local economies, I mean, like, I don't know, Barnsley economy, Doncaster economy, Sheffield economy, Rotherham economy, Hull economy, Goole economy, if we grow those economies internally, organically, that's when you get, growth on a national scale. International investment, all it means, it's kind of like, you're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're robbing yourself to pay someone else. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. So, a couple of things that have come out about this budget. I'll get straight to the first one here. I'll put these links in the description, guys. I won't go on the share screen. Starmer suggests those with income from assets could be hit by tax rises in the budget. So what do we mean by assets? So what they're talking about there is property. Well, they're defining this as people with shares and people who don't, who live on dividends from shares. But this also covers people with, people with property, who rent property out. Now, I totally get it. I do. I totally get it. There's probably, international landowners, who own streets in London, and they don't actually work. They just take rent off people and raise the rent every year or whatever. But there's also a lot of people who just own one additional house or two additional houses, and they rent them to people in the community, and they're really good landlords, and they don't charge much. They literally charge whatever the mortgage is and maybe like 10-15% on top of that. They're not making a massive living. They're actually providing to the community. Now, it's these people. If these people get hit, guys, you're going to see an end to the private rental market. You're going to see an end to people being able to buy properties themselves and rent them out. Now, guys, what does this mean? It means we're going to see bigger companies move in who can take the financial burden, who've got the ESG rating. By ESG, it's economic, social governance or something. And it's the social thing that we focus on there. Those of you who watched my video last night, I did a video on the Matrix, and I talked about these big international investment companies, how they're pro-migration and how they help with migrants settling in new countries. So, when these large investment companies buy your nanan's old house because you can't afford to rent that out anymore because the taxes are too high, when they buy that house, as part of their ESG, it may be part of, and I'm not saying it is, it may be part of their ESG structure to only have migrants go in their houses, because then they're helping migrants and they're helping people in new economies. This is what they have to do as part of their ESG. And because of that ESG, when they borrow money, and these big investment companies, they can borrow lots and lots of money. When they borrow this money, they get a better interest rate if they're helping migrants, if they're doing something good for the environment. Now, what is good for the environment and what is good for the, for social migration and international migration is not necessarily what's good for that local community. Now, George Soros is a master of this. He makes a lot of money by social engineering, and a lot of the stuff he does, it destroys. Guys, go and look into George Soros. While Thatcher was in charge, there was a massive, George Soros tried to cripple the pound while Thatcher was in charge. There's a lot of information out there, guys. I don't want to speculate on it. I might do a separate video on that myself. But this, what Keir Starmer's saying about, he's gonna, people with assets are going to be hit by this budget. So straight away there, the people now who are in private rented private rented housing, those guys, more than likely when this happens, you can see your rent go up substantially over the next few years. Why? Because it has to. Because your landlord now, when they're facing uncertainty, they're facing uncertainty on how much they can raise the rent by, they have to raise that. And it's nothing, I know a few people who've got 1-2 houses. I know people who've got quite a lot of houses as well. But, the problem is, if somebody doesn't pay their rent, because, especially the local people, they're not, they're not rich, but they've got 2 houses. And if somebody doesn't pay that rent, then they have to take that cost themselves. Now, where do they get that money from? Well, they have to suffer themselves. So what they have to do now with the renters reform bill, and it's very difficult to evict tenants now, they have to raise their rent so they've got more liquidity, and then they can cover those costs. That's just how they have to do it, and the government are forcing people to do it into doing this. So what you're going to see is the private rental market, that's just going to go up. It's, they have to put their rents up, especially if, like Keir Starmer says, he's going to be passing the burden on to these people with assets. Well, guess what? They're going to be passing they're going to be passing that burden on to you. and me and whoever else is renting a property, because they have to do it, guys. All right. So, when he comes out and he's saying things like, which sounds very, it sounds very withstanding, doesn't it? Those with income from assets could be hit by tax raises in budget. And obviously by assets, they're talking about property. Now, that sounds absolutely fine. Yeah, those guys, they should be paying. But guess what? They're going to pass those costs on to you and me. Do we really think they're going to lose their house and lose all their stuff? Or are they going to pass those costs on? A lot of people with investment portfolios, you only have to look online at the amount of full investment portfolios now that are going up for sale. I'm actually astonished, how many portfolios own streets in towns and stuff. It's absolutely insane. But a lot of these people are selling up now and getting out because they can see the writings on the wall. Remember, guys, all right? It doesn't matter what policies people say. Doesn't matter all this flim-flammer. This is getting said. They're going to do this tax. That doesn't matter. Look where people are putting their money. That's all you need to think about. Where people are putting their money, that says more than anything. Because people normally, unless you're in government, don't want to lose their money. So look where people are putting their money. So, the assets, people with assets, that cost is going to trickle down to the, private renters. So guys, if you're in private rented, try and right now, if you can, negotiate your rental for the next, and again, this is not financial advice, but if it was me, and again, guys, not financial advice, I'm not qualified for financial advice. If it was now, I would try and get your landlord to fix you into a tenancy and, just be conscious of that. And then we've got another article. Now, Rachel Reeves is trying to, she's trying to change, Rachel Reeves has announced a change to the fiscal rules ahead of next week's budget, allowing her to borrow billions more each year. Well, hang on a minute. I thought we was in a calorie deficit. That's something else. I thought we was in a financial black hole. So we're in a financial black hole, and Rachel Reeves's solution is to borrow our way out of this. Guys, does that make sense to you? So when they came out and they said, guys, we have got a £22 billion black hole. Yeah, we're going to have to raise taxes. We're going to have to make cuts, because we're going to have to get this money paid back in. But we're also going to be borrowing more, which will lead to the black hole being bigger. It doesn't make sense, does it? Guys, when the government borrow more money, when the government borrow more money, they're printing it basically. When that happens, you get amounts of inflation. There's no way around this. I can remember during the crazy time of 2020 when, the government was saying, oh, we're going to keep inflation. I'm like, no, you can't keep inflation down if you're printing this much money. You can't do it. You can't do it. It's like having your bath tap on and going, yeah, that water's not going to get any higher than this mark. Why? Reasons. It doesn't make any sense, guys, all right? If you're pouring water into your bath, the inevitability will be that your bath will get higher. There's no arguing there. So, and again, this is how the Roman Empire fell. So when you raise, so when you get inflation, you get it affects people it affects mortgage owners, homeowners, people with mortgages. So guys, right now, we have literally got we've got like a double-pronged attack on people's homes. And again, this might be, I'm just looking at things that are, sprouting in the weeds. Like I always do, guys, I'm spotting these things and I'm thinking, right, where's that going to go? So right now, with these two articles that look benign, they're like, oh yeah, people with assets. Really? How's that going to work out? So what's going to happen is mortgages are going to go up with interest rates because they have to, because of inflation. You're also going to get a situation where private renters are affected and their rents are going to go up. So people are going to be struggling now with their homes. people are going to be struggling with a place to live. So when people are forced out of their homes or forced to downsize or whatever, you know, that's going to be a bigger burden on the social system. That's going to be more people dependent on the state. And when more people are dependent on the state, more people work for the state, more people have to do as they're told, more people are under control. Guys, the problem here is we have a socialist government. You know, that's not me saying that. That's their own, that's their own manifesto. And the only way they know how to make money, how to generate money, is to tax people. So us, the hardworking people, if you've worked hard and you're just getting over that, you know, you're just getting over that threshold, because there's like a threshold that it's very difficult for most people to break through. You know, I don't know. It's hard for me to say but once you get over that threshold, you start to do better for yourself. You know, you start worrying less about money. You start paying, local things in the economy, and you understand how things work. What this budget, I feel, is going to do is just anybody that's on that cusp of stepping over that threshold, it's just going to batter them back down. And you're going to see this wealth gap just increase, because the people with vast amounts of money are going to be buying up all those assets. The people who are over that wealth gap, they're going to be leaving the country. And who's going to be left here in this country? Guys, we are heading for wild times ahead. I don't feel anything good is going to come from this budget. I spoke to a couple of my friends last night. We're going to try and do we're gonna try and do a live stream on here with we're gonna try and do a live stream when this budget happens, and just we will literally all be in this together, guys. Absolutely wild times in the United Kingdom at the moment. More people I'm speaking to are like, yeah, Sean, I'm going, mate, I'm gone. I'm not staying around for this show. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna max the grid. I'll get you guys another video later.